The sky above New York turned purple that day. Not the soft purple of sunset, but a deep electric violet that made people stop and stare. Traffic halted. Phone calls were forgotten mid-sentence. Even the birds fell silent. The massive ship emerged from the clouds. It was beautiful in a strange way, like a giant silver leaf with blue lights pulsing along its edges. TV channels worldwide cut to emergency broadcasts as governments scrambled to respond. "This is not a drill," said President Clark over the emergency broadcast system. "We have confirmed first contact with an extraterrestrial species. Please remain calm and await further instructions." Captain John Miller watched the broadcast from his apartment in Houston. At 42, with 15 years of space mission experience, he had always believed aliens existed. But believing and seeing were very different things. His phone rang. "Captain Miller," said the voice of General Martinez, "report to Space Command Headquarters immediately. We need our best people on this." 24 hours later, John stood in a hastily assembled meeting room with 24 other specialists. Dr. Lisa Howard, the nation's top language expert, was reviewing alien transmission data on her tablet. Chief Engineer Sam Carter was examining pictures of the alien vessel, his face tight with concentration. "The aliens call themselves the Vexari," General Martinez said. "They're representatives of something called the Galactic Empire. And they want to talk to us." The meeting with the aliens was set for the next day. The world's leaders agreed on a small team to make first contact. John would lead the mission, with Lisa and Sam providing crucial support. That night, John couldn't sleep. He stared at his ceiling, wondering what tomorrow would bring. Would this be humanity's greatest moment or its last? The meeting place was a field in Switzerland. Neutral ground. The alien ship landed with barely a sound. A door opened in its smooth hull, and 3 figures emerged. The aliens stood about 7 feet tall. Their skin was pale blue with silver markings. They had 4 arms and large, intelligent eyes. The one in front wore an elaborate collar that glowed softly. "I am Ambassador Zix Tarl of the Vexari," it said through a device at its throat. "We represent the Galactic Empire, which spans 5,000 worlds across this sector of the galaxy." John stepped forward. "I am Captain John Miller of Earth. We welcome you to our world." The conversation that followed changed human history forever. The Vexari explained that they had been watching Earth for centuries. Now that humans had established colonies on Mars and Europa, the Empire officially recognized Earth as a spacefaring civilization. "We offer you membership in the Galactic Empire," Zix Tarl said. "This comes with benefits and responsibilities." Lisa leaned close to John. "They're being careful with their words. There's something they're not saying." The responsibilities became clear by the end of the meeting. Earth would have access to some alien technology, but most advanced knowledge would be restricted. Humans could travel to nearby star systems only with Empire permission. Weapons development would be strictly controlled. "These are standard conditions for Class 3 developing worlds," Zix Tarl explained, "for your protection and ours." Later, aboard the Vexari ship, Ambassador Zix Tarl met privately with the Imperial Council through a secure communication link. "These humans concern me," Zix Tarl said. "They solve problems differently than other species we've encountered." The High Council member's image flickered on the screen. "All primitive species seem unique at first contact, Ambassador." "No, this is different," Zix Tarl insisted. "When faced with limitations, they don't accept them. They find ways around them. Their entire history is filled with cases where they should have failed, but somehow succeeded." "You worry too much, Ambassador," said another council member. "They're just another developing world. Apply the standard restrictions, and they'll develop along predicted paths like all the others." Zix Tarl's inner eyelids blinked in concern. "I recommend additional caution with the humans. Their adaptability could become problematic if not properly managed." "Your concerns are noted, Ambassador. Proceed with standard integration protocols." As Zix Tarl ended the transmission, He looked out at the blue-green planet below. The humans had accepted the Empire's terms with surprising grace. Perhaps the Council was right. Perhaps his concerns were unfounded. But as the first human delegation prepared to visit an Imperial world the following week, Zix-Tarl couldn't shake the feeling that the Empire had just made a significant miscalculation. 2 years had passed since the Vexari made first contact. Earth had changed in ways both big and small. The night sky now featured strange ships coming and going. Alien tourists walked the streets of major cities, drawing stares and selfie requests. New jobs had appeared: alien language interpreters, xenobiology researchers, and interspecies cultural advisors. But beneath the excitement of this new era, a growing frustration spread among Earth's scientists and leaders. Commander Susan Wright stared at the alien device on her desk. It was a simple Vexari communication tool that had stopped working last week. According to the Empire's rules, she should have sent it back to them for repairs. Instead, she had brought it to her secret lab beneath the Rocky Mountains. "Any progress, Peter?" she asked. Peter Garcia looked up from his workstation. His eyes were red from lack of sleep, but they shone with excitement. "I think I'd figured out how it works," he said. "The power source isn't electrical exactly. It's more like it harvests energy from quantum fluctuations." Susan nodded. This was why she had recruited Peter despite his lack of formal credentials. He saw patterns others missed. "Can you fix it?" she asked. Peter smiled. "I already did, and I think I can make it better." This was what the Empire feared most. Humans didn't just use technology. They improved it. Across the galaxy, Ambassador Zix-Tarl stood before the Imperial Court on the capital world of Nexus Prime. The Grand Hall stretched for hundreds of meters, with thousands of alien representatives from across the Empire seated in rising tiers. At the center sat Grand Sovereign Kaldrex, the Emperor of 5,000 worlds. "The humans continue to test boundaries," Zix-Tarl reported. "They have submitted 37 formal protests about technology restrictions in the past month alone. All new species chafe at first," said Minister Beltor with a dismissive wave of his upper limbs. "They will adjust." "I disagree," Zix-Tarl said. "Humans show unusual patterns. While most species accept limitations, humans see them as challenges to overcome." The Emperor leaned forward on his crystalline throne. "You speak of these humans as if they are exceptional, yet their technology is primitive. Their longest-lived members barely reach 100 years. Their bodies are fragile. Why should we fear them?" Zix-Tarl chose his words carefully. "It is not their bodies or their current technology that concerns me, Your Eminence. It is their minds. Their problem-solving approaches are unpredictable." Laughter rippled through the court. "Ambassador Zix-Tarl sees ghosts in shadows," said General Drevkhan of the Imperial Fleet. "I have reviewed their military capabilities. They are no threat." Back on Earth, in the United Nations Space Command headquarters in Geneva, Captain John Miller had been promoted to colonel. He now oversaw human relations with 15 alien species within the Empire. "They're treating us like children," he told Dr. Lisa Howard as they walked through the building's garden. "We've been restricted from visiting 90% of Imperial worlds." Lisa nodded. "The translation matrix they gave us has helped me understand their language better than they realize. When they think we can't understand, they call us clever primitives." John stopped by a fountain. "What about the other restricted species? Have you made any progress contacting them?" "Yes," Lisa said, lowering her voice. "The Tellurians and Anaxveri both face similar restrictions. They've been part of the Empire for centuries, but are still classified as developing worlds." "We need allies," John said. "And we need to understand why the Empire is so determined to keep certain technologies from us." In his private workshop, Sam Carter examined the salvaged piece of alien engine technology. The Empire had strict rules against humans studying faster-than-light travel, but this damaged component from a crashed scout ship was too valuable to turn in. Sam had always been able to understand how things worked just by looking at them. It was a gift that had made him the youngest chief engineer in NASA's history. Now, as he studied the alien metal that seemed to bend reality around it, he felt the same excitement he had as a child taking apart his first radio. "This isn't just about traveling between stars," he whispered to himself. "This is about bending space itself." Meanwhile, on Nexus Prime, Ambassador Zix Tarl was being removed from his position as Earth liaison. His warnings about humanity had become an embarrassment to the Imperial Court. "You will be reassigned to a trading outpost in the outer systems," his superior informed him. As Zix Tarl packed his belongings, he sent one final report to the Imperial Archives. "When humans eventually break free of our restrictions, as I believe they will, remember that we were warned." 5 years after first contact, a new crisis gripped the Galactic Empire. News traveled slowly to Earth due to communication restrictions, but the whispers among alien visitors grew louder each day. Something called the Void Sickness was spreading through the core worlds. Dr. Alice Bennett worked in the newly built Interspecies Medical Center in Chicago. She had treated various alien species for 3 years now, learning more about their biology than the Empire probably intended to share. Today, her patient was a young Vexeri trader named Kiplon. His blue skin had turned a sickly gray, and his 4 arms trembled uncontrollably. "It started 2 weeks ago," he said weakly. "My ship stopped at Nexus Station for supplies. Many were sick there." Alice ran her scanner over his head. The Empire had provided these medical tools with strict usage guidelines, but Alice had modified hers to show more detailed readings. "Your neural pathways are degrading," she said. "Similar to some diseases on Earth, but much faster." The trader's eyes widened. "The void sickness, but humans aren't supposed to know about that." "We hear things," Alice said gently. "Rest now. I'll do what I can." That night, Alice reviewed her scans in her private lab. The void sickness attacked the nervous system in a way she had never seen before. It seemed to feed on the unique energy patterns in Vexeri brains. She pulled up scans of human brain activity for comparison. The patterns were completely different. A theory began to form in her mind. 3 days later, Alice had treated 5 more aliens with early symptoms of the disease. Each showed the same pattern of neural degradation. She had also confirmed her theory. Humans appeared to be immune. "Our brains process information differently," she explained to her colleague, Dr. Nathan Powell. "The disease targets specific neural energy patterns that humans don't have." "Can we use that to help them?" Nathan asked. Alice nodded slowly. "I've been working on something. A treatment using modified human antibodies. But it goes against Empire medical protocols." Nathan looked troubled. "If they catch us developing unauthorized treatments." "I know," Alice said, "but people are dying." Across the galaxy, on the Imperial capital world, the situation had grown desperate. The Emperor's daughter, Princess Relvex, had contracted the void sickness. The finest medical minds in the Empire worked frantically to save her, but nothing helped. In a small apartment on the outskirts of the capital city, former Ambassador Zix Tarl received an urgent message. Though demoted and disgraced, he still maintained contacts within the diplomatic corps. The message was simple: humans may have a cure. Zix Tarl moved quickly. Using old security clearances that had never been properly revoked, he sent a top-priority communication to Earth. Hours later, he received Dr. Bennett's research data. It was a terrible risk. If he was wrong, he would certainly face execution for treason. If he was right, he might still be punished for going outside official channels. But as he studied Alice's treatment proposal, hope grew within him. The humans had approached the problem from an angle no Imperial scientist had considered. 2 days later, disguised as a medical supply courier, Zix Tarl entered the Imperial Palace. He carried a small container of Dr. Bennett's treatment, smuggled from Earth at great risk. "I need to see the chief royal physician," he told the guards. "I have information about the princess's condition." To his surprise, they let him pass. The situation was so desperate that protocol had broken down. In the royal medical chamber, Princess Relvex lay on a bed surrounded by medical equipment. Her skin had turned almost white. The Emperor himself sat by her side, his mighty frame bent with worry. The chief physician, an old colleague of Zix Tarl, recognized him immediately. "You shouldn't be here," he whispered. "I bring a potential cure," Zix Tarl said, "developed by humans." The physician's eyes widened. "Unauthorized human medical research is forbidden." "What matters more?" Zix Tarl asked. "The rules or the princess's life?" After a moment of hesitation, the physician took the container. "If this fails, we will both face execution." "If it works," Zix Tarl said, "perhaps the Empire will finally listen to my warnings about human ingenuity." The treatment was administered immediately. For hours, nothing changed. The Emperor glared at Zix Tarl with suspicion and growing anger. Then, as the capital's 3 moons rose in the night sky, Princess Relvex opened her eyes. "Father," she whispered. The Emperor's fierce gaze turned from his daughter to Zix Tarl. In that moment, the old ambassador knew that his warnings about humanity would finally be taken seriously. Whether that was good or bad for Earth remained to be seen. 10 years had passed since the aliens first arrived on Earth. The human cure for the void sickness had saved millions across the galaxy. As a reward, the Empire had relaxed some restrictions on human technology, but Earth remained classified as a developing world with limited rights. Humanity had spread to 3 nearby star systems. The farthest human colony was on a small rocky planet called New Hope, orbiting Proxima Centauri. 5,000 settlers lived there, building a new life on the red soil of an alien world. Colonel Frank Mason stood on the colony's observation deck, watching the sunset paint the sky purple and gold. At 53, he had gray in his beard, but his eyes remained sharp. As military commander of New Hope, he was responsible for the colony's safety. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Grace Patel, rushed into the room. "Sir, we're picking up unusual readings at the edge of the system." Frank followed her to the control room. The radar operator pointed at his screen. 6 ships, sir, not responding to identification requests." "Empire vessels?" Frank asked. Grace shook her head. "Different design. I've never seen anything like them." The communication officer's console beeped. "Incoming transmission." "Sir." The screen lit up, showing a reptilian face with yellow eyes and bony ridges. "Attention, human colony. This is Commander Suscraft of the Krell Dominion. Your world is now under our control. Surrender or be destroyed." Frank had heard of the Krell. They were fierce warriors who had fought the Empire for centuries. This was the first time they had ventured near human space. "Send a distress signal to Earth and the nearest Imperial outpost," Frank ordered. "Activate our defenses." Grace looked worried. "Sir, we only have 3 defense satellites and 2 patrol ships. The Empire never allowed us more." Frank's jaw tightened. "Then we'll have to be creative." The Krell attacked at dawn. Their ships were faster and more powerful than anything the humans possessed. The 2 patrol ships were quickly disabled. The defense satellites lasted only minutes longer. In the colony control center, Frank watched as the enemy ships entered orbit. "What's our status?" The distress signal was sent, Grace reported. "Imperial forces say they'll arrive in 3 days." 3 days, Frank repeated. "We need to hold out that long." He studied the tactical display. The Krell ships had formed a standard attack pattern, preparing to land troops. It was a textbook invasion strategy, one that assumed the defenders would react in predictable ways. But humans were anything but predictable. "Get me Sam Carter on the line," Frank said. Hours later, Sam's voice crackled over the secure channel from Earth. The former engineer had become Earth's leading expert on alien technology. "Your plan is crazy, Frank," Sam said. "But it might work. You'll need to modify the colony's atmospheric processors." Working through the night, the colonists followed Sam's instructions. They'd reconfigured equipment never designed for combat. Mining drones were converted into makeshift bombs. Communication arrays were repurposed to create false sensor readings. When the Krell landed their troops the next morning, they found the human colony apparently deserted. The reptilian warriors moved cautiously through empty streets, searching for the colonists. Underground, in emergency shelters, Frank watched the enemy's movements on portable screens. They're in position. Now. Grace pressed a button on her tablet. Across the colony, the modified atmospheric processors activated simultaneously. They released a special mix of gases, harmless to humans, but disorienting to Krell physiology. The mining drones, packed with explosives, swarmed from hidden bunkers. The Krell soldiers stumbled, their coordination failing as the gas affected their nervous systems. The explosive drones targeted their dropships. On orbit, the colony's main communications array broadcast a signal that scrambled the Krell ship's navigation systems. The Krell commander's voice roared over captured communication channels. "What is this trickery? Fight like warriors." But there was no traditional battle. By evening, the confused and disoriented Krell forces retreated to their ships. Two of their vessels collided during the chaotic withdrawal, disabled by the humans' improvised electronic warfare. 3 days later, when the Imperial fleet finally arrived, they found the human colony intact and the Krell invaders gone. General Drev Khan, commander of the Imperial forces, personally visited the colony. He found Frank Mason supervising repairs to the settlement's main dome. "How did you defeat a Krell battle group with no military technology?" the general demanded. Frank shrugged. "We used what we had in ways they didn't expect." As the general departed, he sent an urgent message to the Imperial capital. Zix Tarl was right about the humans. Their military thinking is concerning. For the first time, the Empire began to truly fear what humanity might become. 15 years after first contact, Earth had changed. Humans were known throughout the galaxy as problem solvers. Imperial merchants sought human advisors. Alien tourists visited Earth to study human art and music. But despite their growing reputation, humans remained under strict Empire control. Diplomat Olivia Daniels sat in her office on the trading station orbiting Jupiter. At 38, she had spent a decade representing Earth in galactic affairs. Today, she was meeting with representatives from other restricted species. The Tellurian ambassador arrived first. She looked almost human except for her golden skin and 6 fingers on each hand. Next came the NX Very delegate, a short, furry being with large ears and 3 eyes. "Thank you for coming," Olivia said. "I believe we share common goals." The Tellurian nodded. "The Empire has kept our world at Class 3 status for 300 years. We have much to discuss." They talked for hours about their shared frustrations. The NX Very had developed remarkable medical technology, but were forbidden from using it beyond their home system. The Tellurians had poetry and art that the Empire deemed potentially disruptive and restricted its spread. "We need to work together," Olivia said. "Separately, we can be ignored. Together, we might force change." By the end of the meeting, they had formed the Alliance of Developing Worlds. 12 species joined, all facing similar restrictions from the Empire. Meanwhile, on the Imperial capital, the aging Zix Tarl had found new purpose. Though still an outcast in Imperial politics, his warnings about humanity had gained some believers after the Krell incident at New Hope Colony. Zix Tarl spent his days in the Imperial archives, searching ancient records. He believed the Empire's founding principles might offer a way to challenge the restrictions placed on developing worlds. His research assistant, a young Vexari named Holleran, rushed into his study carrying a data crystal. "Master Zix Tarl, I found something." The crystal contained the original Imperial Charter, written 12,000 years ago. One passage stood out: "No world shall be denied knowledge that might advance their civilization, for all species deserve the right to reach their potential." Zix Tarl's eyes widened. The restrictions on developing worlds violate the Empire's own founding document. He needed a legal expert to build a case. He contacted Earth and was connected with Ryan Kelly, a human lawyer who specialized in interspecies law. Ryan studied the ancient charter for weeks. This gives us grounds for a formal challenge, he told Zixtarl over a secure channel. But we need to present it carefully. The Empire won't easily give up control. On Earth, the news of this discovery spread quickly through government channels. The possibility of breaking free from restrictions excited many, but others worried about angering the Empire. President Jordan called an emergency meeting with her top advisors. Colonel John Miller, now a general and head of Earth's defense forces, attended via hologram from Mars Colony. The Empire won't simply accept this legal challenge, John warned. They might respond with force. But we have allies now, said Olivia Daniels, who had just returned from a meeting of the Alliance of Developing Worlds. 12 species standing together is harder to ignore than one. On the imperial capital, Emperor Kaldrex received troubling reports about human activities. His advisors were divided on how to respond. The humans are building a coalition of lesser species, said Minister Beltour. This could threaten imperial stability. General Drev Khan, who had witnessed human ingenuity firsthand during the Krell incident, looked worried. We should consider eliminating the human threat before it grows further. But Ambassador Vorlak disagreed. Humans have proven valuable to the Empire. Their medical advances saved millions during the Void Sickness. Their unique thinking solves problems our scientists cannot. We should fully integrate them before they develop independently. The Emperor leaned back on his crystal throne. Monitor all human communications. Double the patrols near their colonies. If they challenge imperial authority directly, we must be prepared to respond. In his private chambers later that night, Emperor Kaldrex reviewed footage of humans throughout the Empire. He watched them adapt alien technology, create art that moved even non-human species to emotion, and solve problems that had stumped imperial experts for centuries. For the first time in his 300-year rule, the Emperor felt something unfamiliar: doubt. Had the Empire made a mistake in restricting these strange, adaptable creatures? Or was it already too late to control what humanity might become? As he pondered this question, news arrived that the Alliance of Developing Worlds had formally submitted their legal challenge, citing the ancient imperial charter that Six Tarl had discovered. The confrontation that Six Tarl had warned about for 15 years was finally beginning. 20 years had passed since first contact. The Empire now faced a new crisis that threatened its expansion. Their faster-than-light drive technology had reached its limits. The Empire needed to reach distant regions of the galaxy rich in rare resources, but their ships couldn't travel that far efficiently. Dr. William Chen worked in his lab beneath the Rocky Mountains, where Earth's most advanced research took place. At 45, he had spent his entire career studying the physics of space travel, always within the Empire's strict guidelines. Today, he stared at his computer screen in excitement. His calculations showed something remarkable, a completely new approach to faster-than-light travel based on principles the Empire had never explored. This could work, he whispered to himself. This could really work. His assistant, Mira Jones, looked over his shoulder. Is that what I think it is? William nodded. A new type of space drive. Not based on the Empire's technology at all. You know they won't let you develop this, Mira said. It violates Restriction Code 87. William smiled. That's why we won't tell them yet. Through Olivia Daniels' Coalition of Developing Worlds, William secretly shared his theories with scientists from other restricted species. Together, they refined his ideas, each adding insights from their own scientific traditions. Meanwhile, the Empire's legal system slowly processed the challenge brought by the Alliance of Developing Worlds. Imperial courts had never faced such a case before. Many judges seemed reluctant to rule against centuries of imperial policy. Then disaster struck. The aggressive Krell Dominion unveiled a new weapon that could disable imperial ships faster than light drives. Several border worlds fell quickly to the Krell advance. The Imperial fleet found itself suddenly vulnerable. Emergency signals flashed across the galaxy. For the first time in thousands of years, the mighty empire was on the defensive. On the imperial capital, Emperor Caldrex called an emergency meeting of his advisors. How soon can our scientists develop a countermeasure to this Krell weapon? The science minister looked grim. Our preliminary estimates suggest 2 years, Your Eminence. Perhaps longer. We don't have 2 years, General Drev Khan said. The Krell will reach the core worlds by then. A junior advisor stepped forward nervously. Your Eminence, there might be another option. We've intercepted communications suggesting the humans have been developing alternative drive technology. Impossible. The science minister scoffed. With their restrictions, they couldn't possibly. Bring me these humans, the Emperor interrupted. Immediately. 3 days later, Dr. William Chen arrived on the imperial capital with representatives from 5 other species in the Alliance of Developing Worlds. They were escorted directly to the imperial palace. The Emperor studied William with his large, ancient eyes. You claim to have technology that might help against the Krell weapon. William nodded. Not just a defense, Your Eminence. A completely new drive system that the Krell weapon cannot affect because it works on different principles. Show me, the Emperor demanded. William displayed his equations on the palace's holographic system. The imperial scientists looked confused, then amazed as they began to understand. This approach never occurred to us, admitted the science minister. It violates several of our fundamental theories. That's because you've been developing the same technology for thousands of years, William explained. Humans look at problems differently. When you restricted our access to your technology, you forced us to find our own path. For weeks, William worked alongside scientists from across the galaxy. Together, they developed not just a countermeasure to the Krell weapon, but an entirely new generation of faster, more efficient drives. When the first ship equipped with the new Chen drive successfully repelled a Krell attack, the Emperor summoned William to his private chambers. You have done the Empire a great service, the Emperor said. Name your reward. William stood tall. Remove the restrictions on developing worlds. Let all species reach their potential, as your own founding charter demands. The Emperor was silent for a long moment. The restrictions were meant to protect the Empire from potential threats. Instead, William said, they almost doomed it. Without our different perspective, you would have no defense against the Krell. As William left the palace, he received a message from Olivia Daniels. The imperial court had finally ruled on their legal challenge. The restrictions on developing worlds would be gradually lifted over the next 5 years. The Emperor had realized what Six Tarl had tried to tell him for decades. Diversity of thought wasn't a threat to the Empire. It was its salvation. 25 years after first contact, the galaxy had changed. The gradual lifting of restrictions had allowed humans and other formerly limited species to develop new technologies. The Empire had grown stronger through this diversity, but tensions remained. Captain Maria Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Earth spaceship Horizon. At 36, she commanded humanity's first officially sanctioned starship. The Horizon was a beautiful vessel, combining human design with technology from a dozen alien species. Captain, we're approaching the Imperial Diplomatic Station, said her pilot, Alan West. Take us in slowly, Maria ordered. Remember, this is as much a political mission as a technical one. The Horizon was visiting Imperial worlds on a goodwill tour. After decades of restrictions, humans were finally showing what they could achieve when allowed to reach their potential. On the station, Maria met with various Imperial officials. Most were polite but reserved. Some seemed uncomfortable with human advancement. During a reception, Maria overheard 2 Imperial ministers talking in a corner. They didn't realize her translator could pick up their words. The humans have developed too quickly, one said. 5 new patents just this year. Their colonies are expanding faster than projected. The Emperor has authorized additional measures, the other replied. Settlement ZB-12 experienced an unfortunate reactor failure last month. 3 more human colonies will have similar accidents soon. Maria felt cold inside. She excused herself and returned to her ship. In her private cabin, she reviewed all reports of colonial disasters over the past year. A pattern emerged. All affected settlements had been making significant technological advances. "They're sabotaging us," she whispered. Maria sent an encrypted message to Earth. "Empire deliberately targeting advanced human colonies. Need evidence." Meanwhile, on Earth, Defense Director Kevin Walsh received disturbing intelligence from their allies in the Alliance of Developing Worlds. The NXVeri had intercepted Imperial military communications. Kevin studied the decoded messages with growing alarm. They detailed plans for a massive military operation called Containment Protocol. The target was clearly Earth and its colonies. "They're planning to hit every major human settlement simultaneously," he told President Jordan during an emergency meeting. "Their analysis suggests we're developing too rapidly to control." "How much time do we have?" the president asked. 3 months, maybe 4, Kevin replied. "They're gathering forces slowly to avoid alerting us." The president looked around the table at Earth's leaders. Options. Admiral Laura Patterson, head of Earth's small but growing fleet, spoke first. "Our ships are outnumbered 50-1. A direct confrontation would be suicide." "What about our allies in the Alliance?" asked Olivia Daniels, now Secretary of Interspecies Relations. "Some will help," Kevin said. "Others are too afraid of Imperial retaliation." On the other side of the galaxy, former Ambassador Zix Tarl lived in quiet retirement on a small agricultural world. Though elderly now, he still followed galactic politics with interest. He had watched humans rise from a restricted species to a significant force in the galaxy. A message arrived from an old friend still working in Imperial intelligence. Zix Tarl read it with growing horror. The Empire had decided humans were too dangerous after all. The containment protocol would effectively end human advancement forever. Despite his age and failing health, Zix Tarl knew he had to act. He booked passage on the next ship to Earth. 3 weeks later, as Earth prepared its defenses, a small Imperial shuttle requested emergency landing clearance at the New York spaceport. Inside was a frail Vexari, who insisted on meeting with human leadership immediately. In the White House Situation Room, Zix Tarl faced the president and her advisors. "I came to warn you. The Empire plans to eliminate the human threat once and for all." "We know," said Kevin Walsh. "We intercepted communications about the containment protocol." Zix Tarl looked surprised, then smiled slightly. "Even now, they underestimate your capabilities." His expression turned serious again. "But you don't know the full scale of their plans. This isn't just a military operation. It's an extinction event." He placed a data crystal on the table. Complete details of their attack plan. Fleet positions, timetables, targets. Maria Rodriguez, who had rushed back to Earth with her own evidence, studied the crystal's contents. "This confirms what I discovered. They've been sabotaging our colonies for years, testing methods to make disasters look natural." President Jordan looked at her advisors, then back at Zix Tarl. "We've tried to be good galactic citizens. We followed their rules, even when they were unfair. We shared our medical discoveries. We helped them against the Krell. And this is how they repay us. They fear what they cannot control," Zix Tarl said simply. "And humans, above all else, resist control." The president stood. "Then we have a choice to make. Submission or resistance." Around the table, Earth's leaders shared a look of determination. There was no real choice at all. The Imperial attack came at dawn. 500 warships appeared near Earth and its colonies, their weapons powered up, ready to end the human threat once and for all. Admiral Laura Patterson stood on the bridge of Earth's flagship, the Guardian. Around her, the crew worked calmly despite facing overwhelming odds. Earth had only 27 warships, plus 40 smaller vessels from their allies in the Alliance. "Enemy fleet is moving into attack formation," reported her tactical officer. "They'll be in firing range in 5 minutes." Laura nodded. "Send the signal." Across human space, Hidden systems activated. For years, humans had been preparing for this possibility. Every time the Empire had shared technology, humans had studied it, improved it, and found its weaknesses. The Imperial ships launched their first wave of attacks. Energy beams shot toward Earth's defenses. Then something unexpected happened. The beams bent away from their targets, missing completely. On the Imperial command ship, Admiral Vrax stared in confusion. What happened? Why did we miss? His weapons officer looked equally confused. Unknown, sir. Our targeting systems report direct hits. But they've modified their shield technology. Another officer suggested. Somehow they're bending our energy weapons around their defenses. Admiral Vrax growled in frustration. Launch fighters. Use physical weapons. Thousands of Imperial fighters streamed toward Earth and its colonies. As they approached, strange devices hidden in Earth's orbital defense grid activated. The fighters' control systems suddenly went dead. Pilots found themselves unable to steer their vessels. On Earth's moon base, Sam Carter, now an old man but still Earth's leading expert on alien technology, watched with satisfaction. His reverse-engineered Imperial communication disruptors were working perfectly. The Imperial Admiral's voice boomed across all channels. This is your only warning. Surrender now or be destroyed. Admiral Patterson's reply was calm and clear. We decline your offer. We suggest you consider ours instead. From hidden positions throughout the solar system, Earth's secret weapons revealed themselves. They weren't warships or missiles. They were specialized transmitters, each targeting a different Imperial vessel. On the Imperial ships, systems began to fail. Engines shut down. Weapons went offline. Life support flickered. What is happening? Demanded Admiral Vrax. They're using our own command protocols against us, his chief engineer replied in horror. Somehow they've obtained our override codes. The truth was simpler and more elegant. For years, Dr. William Chen had been studying how Imperial technology communicated with itself. He had discovered that all Imperial systems shared a common programming language with predictable patterns. Earth's transmitters weren't sending override codes. They were sending logical paradoxes that confused the Imperial ship's computers, forcing them to shut down to prevent damage. Within hours, the mighty Imperial attack force hung helpless in space. Not a single shot had been fired by either side. Admiral Patterson opened a channel to the Imperial flagship. Your ships will remain disabled until you agree to our terms. 2 days later, in Geneva, representatives from Earth met with the Imperial delegation. Ambassador Zix Tarl, despite his age, had insisted on mediating.